have two questions. One is, can we realistically start testing climate engineering? A related question would be, does that change the ethics if we can test these? And then on a different note, is there a opportunity to geoengineer the increasing acidity of the oceans as well as the temperature?
So let me answer the technical aspects, and I'll let Dale discuss whether that changes the ethicality. Can you start to test it? Yes, you can test it on a variety of scales. You can inject aerosols into the stratosphere, and we've actually do that periodically when a volcano erupts, and we can measure the impact. Pinatubo was a nice natural experiment, and there are good observations, and we can produce better observations of what might happen. I want to make it clear, because some of Dale's comments were about things that are called geoengineering, but not climate engineering. And I'm really specifically focused on something that will actually, on short time scale, deal with the fact that we may really be in trouble with climate change, and therefore will rapidly mitigate the problem. I should note, though, that there's good evidence that you can't keep doing it. It's not an indefinite fix. That is, the higher the greenhouse forcing gets, long wave forcing by greenhouse gases is not canceled perfectly by reflecting sunlight. And so if it's a small level, it looks like the compensation's pretty good, but as CO2 concentrations grow and grow and grow, that compensation gets worse and worse, and the impacts probably become too bad. So this isn't a long-term, meaning millennia. It's not a long-term solution. It perhaps buys us some more time. It is possible to do some actual tests, putting aerosols in and having good measurements, but I don't think that actually fundamentally changes the questions about unintended consequences or possible feedbacks that you weren't expecting. The argument that I come to there is that those same feedbacks we're likely to encounter by raising greenhouse gases, and therefore I don't think they change either way, because they're there no matter what you do. Your other question was about the acidification of the ocean. Some people say, well, if you engineer the climate, you're still going to destroy marine life through ocean acidification. And isn't that a terrible thing and a reason that we need to reduce emissions and not do climate engineering? It turns out that there are possible ways of engineering that. I've actually published a paper on that. It turns out it's probably prohibitively expensive to do that, to artificially do silicate weathering, essentially. And you can actually imagine such schemes. We had an idea with essentially swaps a weak acid, carbonic acid, for a strong acid, hydrochloric acid, through electrolysis. But that's a separate issue. The truth of the matter is, though, if you care about marine ecology, the first, second, and third thing that is affecting marine ecology is overfishing. And we don't seem to give a damn about overfishing. So the reality is that I doubt the world is willing to spend the money to reduce carbon emissions because of ocean acidification. I wish that were the case. I've been to probably more coral reefs than anybody else in this room in different parts of the world, and unfortunately they're all dying. And acidification may be the sort of cruelest of these, because even countries that have protected their reefs are going to suffer. But the truth is, we have trashed the ocean. Take a look at what Jeremy Jackson has documented in terms of the destruction of the natural world in the last 3 centuries. You know, the ocean is dead. We're talking about saving the dregs. And the idea that somehow there's this huge, we're going to change our behavior because of the last little bit, I think is naive, unfortunately.
Well, just to clarify, I mean, first of all, the debate often gets framed as against research or for research. I don't see it that way. I'm actually in favor of continuing research on geoengineering. What I'm not in favor of is a kind of Apollo-scale crash program for geoengineering of the sort that David Victor and others advocate in the current issue of Foreign Affairs. The other thing, what I would like to be kind of the ground level norm that we could all agree on, and I think maybe we could, although every time I say that people disagree, is that there should be no implemented geoengineering techniques except in the context of a broader mitigation policy. And I think if that were one of the governing norms for geoengineering, then the worry that some people have, that geoengineering simply replaces mitigation, would not be a concern.
I put that in the category of